Hello everyone, I'm Nini FC and this is Blue Lines TV. Welcome to the match review of our 1-0 win over PAOK. And you guys, let's be serious. All of us are feeling very confident that we were going to get the goal. I think all of us assumed that we'd be getting more than 3 in this game. So it was understandably disappointing that we didn't really get too many goals. But you guys, before I get straight into the match review, smash that like button. Help me get more than 1,000 likes for today's video. But getting straight into things, and I think one of the most interesting points to talk about for this match review is in regards to the team selection and the bench. Now, controversy did happen. Hudson Odoi and Ampadu weren't even part of the team. They weren't on the bench. They didn't play any single minutes whatsoever. And it is very, very disappointing. They both travelled out to Greece. You expect him to get some game time at least. Ampadu doing well for Wales, for example. And it's weird, it's only out Chelsea we can have youth players that can play for the national teams, but then they never have a chance to play for Chelsea. And let's not forget that Ruben Loftus-Cheek didn't play a single second in this game either. And I understand what Sarri's talking about. I really do understand. Of course, it's all about trying to keep that consistency, having those first team guys playing more and more together to really get used to things and come to terms with the new system and really, master it. I do understand that. But sometimes I've always felt with managers, they can just be a bit too safe, a bit unnecessarily safe at that. I'm really thinking you had to have guys like Cahill and maybe Moses over Hudson Odoi and Ampadu. Why? I mean, surely from what these guys have shown during pre-season and playing for their countries as well, they deserve that chance to show what they can do. I mean, you've barely used Moses. You haven't even had Cahill at all. Why was it now that you decided to put Cahill on the bench for a game like this? What was he really going to provide? Using Victor Moses, this guy isn't going to be playing a game until he leaves in January. And I just didn't understand why Sarri felt it wasn't the right time to use any of those guys. You know what, with me, remember, I like to give my thoughts and opinions on this channel. And even though I love Sarri and I agree with everything he does, that doesn't mean that I just blindly agree with everything people I like to. That's not how I am. I like to be objective. And I just didn't agree personally in just how safe he was being with not using those young players. But you guys in the comment section below, give me your thoughts and opinions. Do you feel that Sarri did the right thing? Were you a bit disappointed that Ampadu and Hudson Odoi didn't play at all? And Ruben Loftus-Cheek as well? Let me know below. But getting straight into the match. Now, with PAOK, as I was telling you guys before, they did kind of remind me of a Southampton, and seeing them play, really you can see the similarities in their system, with their 4-2-3-1, having their wide forward players tucking inside. They like to use their fullbacks for width. And of course with them as well, when they drop deep when they're defending off the ball, they like to use a 4-5-1 shape. And what they normally do too is they like to have a medium to low block. And that's because, they want to try and soak up pressure, and they use their pressing trap. So basically that means that once Chelsea players come across a certain area, that's when they activate their press and start trying to get the ball. And win the ball to get some counter-attacks. They did well at times in terms of winning possession. But again, with teams like this, you use a lot of energy when you're defending off the ball and sitting deep. So when it does come to counter-attacks, normally the attackers are isolated, already running a lot as it is. And it makes it hard for them to really sustain much pressure throughout this game. So it was the most easiest win, and it was very easy for our defenders as well. Still, with how we like to play under Sarri, we really utilise our flanks very, very well. And we have those dimensions of being able to play centrally through the middle and out wide as well. And it makes it very hard, especially when you are using that type of low block, and that medium to low block, I mean. That gives space for our guys to play. And I definitely feel one player that really benefited from the space he was getting today was Ross Barkley. I think it was his best Chelsea performance so far. Yes, I know it's only against PAOK, but I definitely feel this game was a confidence booster at that. I think it segues in nicely to the first goal we scored, and that was probably one of the best moves of the season. Let's be serious. Fantastic pass from Rudiger, great pass from Jorginho, great first touch by Barkley, and a nice pass into Willian, who scores. And it was just a very nice flowing move. I think it was about 4 or 5 passes as well. Very clean, very fluid, and typical Sarri ball. And I think that Ross Barkley really benefited from not being closed down or pressed as aggressively. I think when he has more space to play in, he can do his thing. I think it's going to take him a lot of time to really get to grips with playing for a team that keeps possession and plays against teams that have a deep low block and defend very deep as well, because you have to understand, when you're receiving the ball, normally you have about 3 players closing you down against teams that defend and park the bus. So it is going to be hard for him. I've really been looking at a lot of old games and looking at Ross Barkley and really trying to understand why he's struggled at times a bit. And it does make sense, when this guy was at Everton, they did play more of a counter-attacking style. When he's playing closer to Lukaku, imagine all the space both those two have. So it's completely different playing that brand of football and then moving to a team that does keep the ball and plays against low blocks. But anyway, after that first goal, you're thinking it's about time until the goals start coming in. And this is where it did become the Morata show. But I don't necessarily think it was a disastrous performance from Morata. Now, you guys, hear me out before you have your thoughts and opinions. Yes, I do agree with you. Out of all those chances he had, he should have scored at least 1 goal today, 100%. But let me also give you guys one other thing to think about as well. Now, remember with Fernando Torres back in the day, it got to that point where Torres wasn't at the end of attacks. He was never in those spaces he wanted your striker to be in. And this was one of the main reasons as to why he really wasn't able to get as many goals. But Torres was kind of hiding in that sense due to his confidence. And that's something that happens in football. Michael Owen came out a few weeks ago talking about the fact that, with his knee injury, he didn't like to use his pace as much because he was scared that he'd always do his knee every single time. And when he was playing for clubs like Stoke, etc., a lot of times he wasn't getting into position because he was scared that if he got into them, he could damage his knees. So, players do obviously think like that at times. But this is why I have to rate Morata, because with Morata, his application was there. We have to give him credit. And I know I'm the guy that's always saying end product over application. I still stand by that. But I mean, with Morata, it takes bravery to continuously put himself in the spotlight, because you have to realise, let's say you've missed your first or second chance, other people will lack that confidence and they don't want to be in those areas anymore. They'll do all the hard work without being in the area. Morata was desperate to score today. He kept getting in very good positions, had a lot of very good half chances as well. 1 or 2 clear-cut ones that he should have done much better with. But I still think he's slowly getting there with his confidence. It was nice to see a bit of fight. I like that when he was substituted for Jury later on, he was angry, he was frustrated, and you want to see that. You want him to be angry with himself for not scoring, knowing that I should have scored a goal today. So I think we need to give him a bit more time. But other than that, it was very much domination throughout this game. It was very easy. PAOK didn't really press as aggressively as they could have. And I think they did show us a bit too much respect. But again, that made our lives much easier. I felt at times that I was really seeing Chelsea in second gear. And maybe my opinions reflected in the poor finishing we saw today. Now, that moves us nicely to the second half. And it was literally just chance after chance. It just continued from the first half. And every player was taking their turn to miss something. Rudiger, unfortunate from a set piece. Pedro had a few chances, Willian on top of that as well. Should have been doing much better. But one positive is the fact that I do feel the second string squad, in a sense, even though only a few of them played, they did show that they are really getting to grips with Sarri and the system. Even though we didn't score, we created tons and tons of chances. And if it was on a different day, we could have easily got 4 or 5 goals. I've got a few more observations from the game. Obviously got to talk about Christensen and Rudiger for a second. And I think that, let's be serious, they weren't tested whatsoever. And I don't really feel this game was really a testament to show what these two are about, even though they're all fantastic players. Let's not get that wrong. It was interesting to see that Christensen played on the left-hand side and Rudiger kept playing on the right-hand side. Obviously, Sarri must rate his distribution from that side. And you could see in this game, I've always felt that Rudiger's kind of like a David Luiz in a sense. Rudiger started a lot of attacks from deep and really took responsibility from there. And it was nice to compare him to Christensen. I mean, let's be serious, they're not the same type of players. So it's not as if Christensen needs to be the guy that starts attacks or plays 50, 60-yard passes. Christensen's more of a defender that likes to break the lines and run into midfield with the ball. So hopefully we can see him doing that more and more as the season goes on. But it's good to see that Christensen kept his concentration and he put in a very composed performance. Aspie came on, and that was a bit interesting as well, because of course Marcos Alonso was rested for the game against West Ham. But what makes it interesting is the fact that Emerson actually came out after the game on Twitter stating that he isn't injured, which all of us assume, and he just wasn't selected. So is that him putting some indirect pressure on Sarri, or is that him trying to express some of his frustrations and not going with the team and not playing? Because you're thinking, well, if you're going to rest Alonso anyway, why couldn't I have played? You really had to use Aspie on the left. I'm not too sure as well. I think that's a bit overkill. I don't know, I personally felt it was a bit overkill. But I mean, again, we saw Fabregas coming on, and it was weird to me that some people were surprised when Fabregas replaced Jorginho. I think it's pretty clear that Fabregas will be Jorginho's backup. I think that he can easily do that. I mean, he's been doing that for years already. Have people forgotten how this guy was playing for Arsenal? One interesting thing was that Ruben didn't play at all. And maybe that's what Sarri was implying when he said that it wasn't the right time. Because number one, he wanted to give an opportunity to Cesc to get his match fitness and provide something. Number two, maybe he wanted to give Barkley some confidence as well. And Kante is someone you never ever sub off anyway. So his chances were always going to be limited. And it was always going to be determined by Cesc Fabregas. So Ruben will be a bit frustrated. But let's see what's going to happen during the Carabao Cup against Liverpool. But to be honest, I still expect us to use a pretty strong team against them. But anyway, you guys, that's going to end today's match. If you give me your thoughts and opinions in the comment section below, I want to know what you guys thought about this game. Anyway, you guys, I'm going to bounce. Remember, smash that like button. Help me get more than 1,000 likes. I'm the EFC. This is Blue Lines TV. Signing out.